Sin más preámbulos, doy la palabra a Dimitri por un tiempo máximo de 10 minutos. Gracias.
Thank you very much. I don't know in how far you know Flanders, but I can say that our waste policy is amongst the most successful in Europe. We have a long history in waste management, going back to the beginning of the 1980s. I will try to illustrate in 10 minutes, how we managed to evolve from pollution control in the 1980s to sustainable materials management and the first steps towards a circular economy at this moment. This is Flanders in the 1970s. What you see are public protests against uncontrolled dumping and citizens demanding waste legislation. The Public Waste Agency of Flanders was established in 1981 to tackle this waste chaos. The first concern was protection from pollution and the setting up of an efficient waste management infrastructure. From the early 1990s, however, the emphasis shifted to waste reuse and waste recycling. The green line on the graph is the amount of household waste selectively collected and recycled. It is shown in kilograms per inhabitant. And you see that during the 90s there was a very sharp increase of the amount of recycled waste. To achieve these objectives, the Flemish government and OVAM developed a whole range of policy instruments, including EPR schemes, landfilling and incineration bans, pay-as-you-throw schemes, and information campaigns for citizens. With success, in 1988, we only recycled 10% of household waste. At this moment, we are recycling and reusing 71% of our household waste. A similar trend is visible for industrial waste. Today, the waste management sector in Flanders employs roughly about 12,000 people, corresponding to 0.5% of Flemish employment. And it's one of the sectors that's increasing every year, around 5% per year. And we think that it will continue to grow strongly in the future. Our policy contributed to the development of this new and thriving industrial waste sector in Flanders. I will give two examples. The first is a company called Indaver. It's widely known for its treatment of hazardous and industrial waste. It was founded in 1985 as a partnership between the OVAM and the industry. Now it's an international player with who treats more than 5 million tons of waste each year. Second example, Umicore, well known for its precious metal refinery. They made a successful shift from being a mining company to a company that focuses on recycling of metals. To make this shift, Umicore had to be relatively sure of a steady stream of input material. And one of the reasons why Umicore was willing to make the shift to become a recycling company was European and Flemish waste legislation, which made the selective collection and recycling of waste electronics mandatory. In the Flemish region, there was already an EPR scheme for waste electronics in 2001. In other words, legislation and policy as a driver for innovation. we think that Flanders is in a good starting position to make a transition to a more circular economy. We're a compact region, densely populated, meaning we have a rich urban mine to source. We're pioneers in waste legislation and implementation. We have a lot of experience in public-private partnerships, and we also have a lot of scientific knowledge about waste management and materials management, and we have a state-of-the-art recycling industry. From a strategic perspective, making the shift to a circular economy becomes more and more important, because in Flanders and in a lot of other European countries, we're particularly vulnerable, since the vast majority of our resources are being imported from abroad. That makes it even more important to make this shift. From, let's say, 2005, the awareness grew in our agency that we had reached the limits of our waste policy. It became more and more difficult to reduce further the amount of waste reused and recycled. Traditional waste management focuses mainly on the end-of-life phase, the phase where a product becomes waste. And that policy gradually bumped to its own limits. In 2006, the first visions and ideas were emerging in Flanders, thanks to the transition network of Plan C that was established in 2006. Also, an important moment is 2009, where the Flemish government made the very conscious decision to implement the Waste Framework Directive in a very ambitious way, in the form of a materials decree. In this materials decree, the legal foundation is laid for a new materials approach, where the focus is on sustainable materials management, materials hierarchy, and life cycle thinking. Also in 2010, Belgium had the presidency of the European Union, and our agency used it as a momentum to put sustainable materials management on the European and Flemish agenda. And this resulted in Flanders to make sustainable materials management as one of the 13 transitions of Flanders in Action. That's a socio-economic reform program for the future of Flanders. And sustainable materials management was really one of the top priorities politically for Flanders. Early 2012, on the initiative of our waste agency, the Flanders Materials Program was finally launched, based on a shared declaration of commitment with many partners from civil society, governments, industries, research, and research institutions. Managing materials sustainably requires a multidisciplinary approach. All actors from different sectors of society must collaborate. Nobody has the knowledge or the instruments to independently achieve the transition. What really is crucial is making partnerships with these different actors. And through the Flemish Materials Program, these different actors, they join forces. And the aim is to implement a common agenda and to find new ways to cooperate, even if these different actors have sometimes opposing interests. In the Flanders Materials Program, we have 3 pillars. First, ambitious long-term vision development, policy research on sustainable materials management, and the third pillar, action in the field. Flanders, in Flanders, OVAM is the coordinator and the catalyst of the Flanders Materials Program. Important is that we as a government, we coordinate it, but it is, there is a steering committee, a public-private steering committee, that watches over the rollout of all the different projects. And it's the member organization of the steering committee that co-own the Flanders Materials Program. To lay the foundations of a circular economy, the Flanders Materials Program, the action pillar of the materials program focuses on 45 actions on the short term, spread over 4 economic clusters: the building sectors, the bioeconomy, the metals, and the chemical plastics sector. In addition to actions in these 4 important economic clusters, we have specific projects to create an enabling environment for the transition to a circular economy, because we want to avoid that every new business case or innovation encounters the same obstacles. These horizontal enablers are sustainable design, financing and investment, better legislation, and so on. Here are some examples of strategic projects of the Flanders Materials Program. I will not go into it because I only have a couple of minutes left. This is the Policy Research Center. They really take a multidisciplinary approach to sustainable materials management, in which different types of researchers are really working together to have policy relevant recommendations to the Flemish Materials Program. The third pillar, Plan C, it's a transition network. That's one of the 3 pillars of the Flanders Materials Program. Their focus is on pioneering companies who are at the forefront of the circular economy. Here are some examples of things that they do. For example, an additive design challenge. It's a challenge at the crossroads of eco-design and additive manufacturing, 3D printing in all its forms. And it tries to look how a pioneering technology, such as 3D printing, can be used within a circular economy context. Another interesting project is, for example, the circular hotel room. In this project, in which Plan C is involved, furniture manufacturers and a hotel group are working together to create the first circular hotel room, where furniture manufacturers decorate the hotel room and the hotel leases the room from the furniture manufacturer. Other projects that Plan C is involved is around circular fashion, to implement circular economy in fashion industry. I think I have to close, but I just want to say at last that our Flemish Materials Program was awarded with the Circulars Award in Davos, in the World Economic Forum. And one of the reasons we got the award was because of the impressive amount of projects and initiatives under the wings of the Materials Program, and also because of the cooperation between a vast number of stakeholders and economic sectors. And I just want to finish that we think that this is one of the most important aspects, that's cooperation between all actors in the value chain. Thank you very much.